And we are live. What is going on, everybody? It is your boy SK. I'm here with our guy Justin
What's
Day.
up? How y'all
Vikings
doing?
moved, Vikings moved to 6-1, and we're gonna get down to it. But let's do it after this. What up? What up? Again, it is your boy SK with my guy Justin Day. This is the TPC post game show. Vikings moved to 6-1. How are we feeling after a big dub against the Arizona Cardinals? We come out on top 34 to 26.
26. Yep.
34 to 26. How's everybody feeling about the victory? And Justin, I'll start with you, man. How do you feel about the victory? You were at the game, so you
Yes.
actually got the vibe of the actual energy, and you got brought in the induction to the Ring of Honor for Jared Allen.
That was
So how
awesome.
was it, man? How you feeling after this victory?
Well, I'll start with the Jared Allen thing, man. It was spectacular. It was funny. My girlfriend and I were sitting there because they were doing this intro for him about how he's got this cowboy vibe, and about 5 seconds before he comes out, she's like, is he gonna ride in on a horse or something? And I said, I wouldn't be surprised. He come out, and I'm like,
Riding the
okay,
horse.
that's par for the course, but that's Jared. No, I don't know what to feel about this game, just like I don't know what to feel about this team. It is something you said a couple weeks ago. We're just going to have to accept that we can't will into existence that the Vikings are just going to put it all together one week and just put a team away and have it not come down to the last play or the last meaningful play minus some kneel downs, because there were 2 or 3 opportunities in this game that we could have put this team away. And hey, as you said, we'll take the victory any way we can get it. But the line that I've been using is what is sustainable moving forward, and what's sustainable when we play teams like Buffalo and Dallas and New York, and for better for worse, the Packers on the road in December in Green Bay. So defensively, I was very impressed outside of a couple of drives where it's just like you look like Pee Wee football. I mean, I get trying to cause turnovers and punching balls and stuff like that, but at some point you have to tackle first. But
Yeah.
bottom line is a victory is a victory. They have 1 loss on their record. They should be favored again next week to get to 7-1 and have that Buffalo showdown. But it's just a weird. It's weird. That's the best word I can come up with. Is weird. It's just. I mean, I don't know a better word to come up with how I feel. I just feel weird about it. But you can't feel too weird for too long when you're talking about W stacking up. So
Yeah, I mean, we kind of say the same saying after every game. It's a win's a win. We found a way to win, and that's all you can say. We're a 6-1 football team, but there is little snippets of this game that you can take out and take the positive and say, you know what, we are kind of moving in the right direction.
right.
First thing that kind of stood out to me, we've been so heavy on getting JJ the ball, and we've kind of been force feeding him, and we've been telling ourselves over the bye week and probably before that, hey, we need to get Adam Thielen more involved. We need to get these guys more involved. Well, today, Adam Thielen had 7 targets. Justin Jefferson had 8 targets. Adam Thielen, 6 receptions for 67 yards. Justin Jefferson, 6 receptions for 98 yards. On top of that, you had Cook get 6 targets, 5 receptions for 30 yards. Irv Smith got 4 receptions for 28 yards. So you saw more of a balanced, kind of spread out attack for this offense. It wasn't necessarily so predicated on what JJ does. I think today was a big game for not just Dalvin Cook, because Dalvin Cook had a really big game today. What was it? 20 carries for 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.6 yards per carry. He was tearing it up on the ground. But overall, as an entire offense, we're starting to get a hang of this balance thing. We're starting to see that running game start to look like the old Dalvin Cook running game that we saw in years past, paired with the pass offense that we've been desperately needing, that we want to open it up, we want to go five wide and do stuff like that, we can. We're starting to get more comfortable with that. So I see the little things, the little improvements, especially with the offense. Again, another stat that's noteworthy. We were 5 for 5 in the red zone today.
Yes.
5 for 5 in the red zone. We didn't settle for field goals. We got in the end zone. And that was one of the things I said in the pregame show this morning. I said, if we're going to win this game, we cannot settle for field goals when we're in scoring position. And that ultimately probably was the difference in this game, was seeing how bad Greg Joseph was kicking the ball. If we would have settled for a field goal a few of those times, we may not have come away with points. So we got our touchdown. We got in the end zone, 5 for 5 in the red zone. And that ultimately was the difference in this game, on top of us getting the, 3 turnovers in this game. So, no, there's positives to take away. I know especially me and you, Justin, because we're such on the side of, hey, this isn't sustainable. We can't continue to play like this and expect to make a deep run into the playoffs. I think we're all sitting here feeling good, saying, okay, looks like we're more than likely going to make the playoffs, especially with the Bears losing today, the Lions losing today, which the Lions weren't necessarily a threat in the NFC North to win it. But you got the Packers playing the Buffalo Bills tonight in Buffalo. That means you're going to have another week where all 3 teams from the NFC North lose besides the Minnesota Vikings, you gaining another game lead in that division. So chances are we're making the playoffs here. Me and Justin are looking at it like, okay, when we do make the playoffs, a lot of these things that we're doing that we're getting away with aren't going to fly in the playoffs. They're not very sustainable. But there's little things, like I said, that you can take out of this game and say, all right, well, we improved on this aspect. We improved on that aspect. And just take it week by week, man. We're getting better each week. So that's kind of how I'm taking it. We got to accept that this is the 2022 Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
This is the team. We're going to struggle with every single team we play. Next week when we play the Commanders, we're going to play a feisty team. It's going to be tough. Hopefully we come out on top like we've been coming out on top in these rough games. But it's going to be rough. It's going to be a close game. That's going to be the entire 2022 season. We just got to embrace it.
Right. And to your point, what's frustrating offensively for me is this. There are so many things. How do I come on and do a show complaining about an offense that put 5 touchdowns on the board, right? But on the other hand, it's like, okay, little things here and there. It's death by a 10,000 paper cuts sometimes. That first drive, didn't get to see much of it because we were still filing in, but we got there right as he dove into the end zone. Second drive. Okay, so you got stopped on 4th down. I like the fact that they went for it. I like the fact that they didn't try a long field goal. But on 3rd down, Kirk Cousins had 10 yards in front of him.
I was about to say.
Okay, so on one hand, I'm always on Kirk about don't take the safe stuff. Like don't take the check down to Irv Smith on 3rd and 8. It is 3rd and 1, and you see a window where maybe you can get Justin Jefferson the ball for 20 yards. Yeah, but it's 3rd and 1, and you had 10 yards in front of you. So there's that. There's other times where, okay, that strip sack, it's like, dude, I know that the offensive line at times got beat like a rented mule, but you had enough time to get rid of the ball. Your clock's got to go off in your head. When they get that stop on 4th down for the Vikings, and it's like, get 1 first down. Don't let Kyler Murray get back on the field too, even though the defense stopped him. That's okay. That's great that they did, but don't tempt fate so much all the time. It's and I understand, like some people is like, well, here we go with the Zimmer offense, run. Well, when there's 2:36 on the clock left and your opponent has 1 timeout, you need to run the ball on the first 2 plays to get down to the 2-minute warning so that they have no timeouts left, and then you have 3rd down. Unfortunately, we gave them by that dumb holding penalty ostensibly an extra timeout because, holding, so that stops the clock and we'll just decline the penalty and let the down go by. So it's just little things like that. Like to your point, I didn't even know Jefferson had 98 yards from where I was sitting. I was just like, are they ever going to throw
a 100-yard game from Justin Jefferson?
I couldn't believe it when I just pulled up, when you just read those stats and I pulled them up, I'm like, he had 98 yards. I thought he would have had like 47 to 50 somewhere in there. But So you see a lot of things that are good. You see a lot of things that if you just put a couple tweaks here and there, make a couple of improvements here and a little bit of more execution, this could be a very, very good offense. But it's frustrating because to me, even though I liked what I saw defensively on a whole, obviously, again, there was a couple of guys were just like, okay, I didn't even get up out of my seat and get back to my seat, and the Cardinals had already scored. But defensively, if you had told me going into this game that they were going to give up 28 points or less, we would have taken that.
Yeah.
And Zadarius Smith, the only thing we need to worry about this guy is that he stays healthy, because right now he's the leader of the defensive line. All due respect, I know Danielle Hunter has been here longer, but right now this is Zadarius Smith's defensive line.
He's Batman right now.
I mean, he is. He's just. And if sometimes when I'm there and I like on offense, I just watch Jefferson every single play, just because it's like, okay, can I say that he was open on every play? Oh, yep, he was. Yep, he was. But on defense, I stopped watching Kyler Murray and I just started watching Zadarius Smith when he was in there, because I'm just like, he is a one-man wrecking crew right now. I mean, but to your point about where this team is going and where it's ultimately where it can be, this team will make the playoffs unless there's an epic collapse of mega proportions. I mean, it's almost impossible, both in this division and in this conference, for this team to not be in the playoffs. But to me, the goal isn't to just be happy getting into it. The goal is to have the capability of doing something once you get there. But at some point, you can't speak it into existence. They're finding ways to win, and we're just going to have to say, hey, they've found ways, and hopefully they'll keep finding ways, because they're not going to be maybe when they play Detroit again, they might finally have that one game, but it'll be against Detroit, so who cares? But for right now, hey, they're the second best team in the conference. Well, them and Dallas. It's still hard for me.
Dallas looked good today.
I said that they would whoop up on Detroit, and they didn't. I mean, they put half 100 on those guys. So bottom line is Philly, Dallas, and Minnesota right now are the three teams that matter in the NFC. No disrespect to the Giants. I think they're just a notch below those three. But our team's one of the three. So because those other two are in the same division right now, if you don't get the 2 seed, it's a disappointment for me. It's a disappointment if it's no longer about, well, hopefully we can be the 3 and maybe squeak into the 2. No, it's the 2, and you can't be any lower than that. Otherwise, something went drastically wrong.
Yeah, and things get tougher. I mean, next week's going to be tough with the Commanders, and like I said, every game's going to be tough for the Minnesota Vikings this year. But when you look at the teams that are lined up after this Commanders game that we have coming up, things get really, really, really tough when it comes to opponents' record. So you're definitely going to find out what this team is within the next month, I would say, and actually know what we are. Because right now, like I said, we're coming away with the wins. We know that we're a scrappy team. Just like Justice said, he sums it up pretty fairly. It feels weird because the last 10 years, all these close games we won. This year were losses. In years past, we aren't used to seeing a scrappy team. And I think that's why we're kind of reacting this way. We're not used to seeing this. Like, we're so used to the Mike Zimmer era where it's kind of like, we're conservative. We won kind of the majority of our games with Mike Zimmer when you look at his winning percentage. But it was always the same way. It was always it wasn't necessarily score convincing to where we're blowing teams out. But we put such a vice grip outside of maybe the last 2 years. We put such a vice grip when it came to the defensive side of the ball to where if we got a 10-point lead, we're extremely comfortable. We don't have too much to worry about because that defense is going to hunker down and not allow any points on the board. So it's different now. So when we're not coming away with the same type of victory or confidence out of a victory where you feel like, we dominated that game. We did our thing. We ran up the points at the end of the game, or it just never felt like that team had a chance. That's not necessarily the case. We're a different team now. So we're just finding different ways to win. And there's nothing wrong with that. That bodes well for your team later on. Just like we say, the way we're winning or how we're playing isn't sustainable. You finding ways to win right now when half the games that you're winning, you probably shouldn't have won. Those bode well for you later on in the season and in playoffs, because you're going to face those same situations where you're down by 10 points in the second half and you got to make a comeback, or where you're up early in the game and the opponent makes their comeback and now it's a close game again. You got to kind of regather your thoughts and everything and get your team back together. So this experience will bode well for this team, not just later on in this season, but in years coming up as well. So let's not necessarily, look at all the negatives, but let me bring up the stats because I always like going over the stats
Real quick before you do, while you're pulling those up here, I wanted to say something about the one positive about the offense I did. But before we do that, I want to say that this portion is sponsored by Rinaldi's Pizza and Pasta. They're on Wood Lane Drive right off of I-494 and Valley Creek Road. One positive thing I will say about the Vikings, I'll let you get the stats. On one hand, they had opportunities to put this game away. But on the other hand, there have been times in the past where the defense or special teams has gotten them turnovers and they've done absolutely nothing with them.
Yeah.
Today, they put touchdowns on the board almost immediately following turnovers here. The Harrison Smith interception, I didn't actually see. Right after the Vikings drive, I left to go get some snacks, go to the bathroom, whatever. And all of a sudden I hear the roar, look up on the screens because there's monitors every 15 feet at US Bank Stadium. I'm like, okay, you know what? We got the ball. And it was on our side of the field. So I'm like, okay, we got the ball. I'll go back. But what I really liked about that drive, it was bing, bang, boom, and into the end zone. And okay, thank you. After the muff punt, same thing. It was an opportunity for the offense to just put the boot on the throat. They didn't take advantage of it, but they ended up getting that muff punt and went right into the end zone after that with the touchdown to KJ. So, as much as I've been harping about how it feels weird and how about there's other opportunities to make this less stressful, I will have to say that let's also give them props too, because again, after those turnovers, they got points on the board, lickety split there. So just wanted to throw that one in there as well, since I've been a little
another positive, another thing that's kind of changed from the first 6 weeks of this season that we saw different coming out of the bye week today. That's another positive that you can stash in your back pocket. But these are the stats. Third down conversion, Arizona was 4 for 11. Minnesota was 6 for 13. So what's that, about 45%, somewhere around there?
Yeah, slightly under 50, yep.
Yeah, slightly under 50%. So that's a good look right there. Total yards, Arizona 375, Minnesota 381. Pass yards, 297 to Minnesota's 208. 3 sacks for the Arizona Cardinals, 4 sacks for the Minnesota Vikings, 3 of those credited to Zadarius Smith. Monster. This was the big difference in this game. The ground game. Arizona only rushing for 78 yards. Now, we kind of know they're not a big rushing team outside of Kyler Murray, who actually led them in rushing today with, I think, like 36 yards or something like that.
Yeah, 36.
But Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison, and Kirk Cousins totaling 173 yards on the ground and averaging 6 yards per carry, with Arizona only averaging 3.5 yards per carry. Again, like I said earlier, red zone efficiency was amazing today. 5 for 5, 100%. Arizona 2 for 3 in the red zone. So whatever you want to call that. Penalties were just about even. Each team had 10 penalties on the day. 67 yards for the Arizona Cardinals, 86 for the Minnesota Vikings. And the turnover battle, another thing that I was keying on in the pregame show. Whoever wins the turnover battle is more than likely going to win this game because both teams' defenses are extremely similar. That and don't break type of defense, but they're going to take every opportunity to strip the ball, to ball hawk, to step in front, be aggressive, grab a pick, get the ball back for their offense. So 3 turnovers for the Minnesota Vikings, only 1 for the Arizona Cardinals. Time of possession was pretty even. I think it's only like 45-second difference or something like that. So pretty even on that front. Kirk Cousins, 24 for 36, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 103, and also added 4 carries for 22 yards. It probably should have been 5 carries for about 30, 35 yards. And it's all good. We came away with the win. I'm not going to, nitpick on one play. Dalvin Cook, 20 rushes, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.5 yards per carry. Alexander Mattison, 5 rushes for 40 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 yards per carry. And Justin Jefferson, like I stated earlier, 6 receptions, 98 yards on 8 targets. Adam Thielen, 6 receptions on 67 yards on 7 targets. And Dalvin Cook, 5 receptions for 30 yards. Also, Cam Bynum and Harrison Smith, each with a pick. Zadarius Smith, 3 sacks. Harrison Phillips with a sack. And holding, Kyler, I don't know if you want to call it holding, but Kyler Murray, 31 for 44, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the day. And DeAndre Hopkins, 12 receptions, 159 yards, and a touchdown, which was kind of a given. We knew that was coming. But our guy Rap was in here. What's up, Rap?
What's up, Rap?
Podcast. But, I mean, when you look at the stat sheet, everything pretty much seemed even outside of the rushing yards. But anything that worried you in this game? We're gonna get negative for a second. It's a win. We're 6-1. We're loving on it. We're loving our team. But what was the main negative in this game for you? And we'll probably have the same negative, if I'm being honest.
Well, before we get to the negatives, let's read the other one. We got Hudson Place, and that's Nautical Bowls there, also in Woodbury, off of Woodbury Drive and I-94. Always got to give our sponsors some love there as well. The negative thing for me, offensive line pass blocking was kind of hit or miss to me. And I don't know if that's what led to the inconsistencies in the passing game. So I'm going to say the passing game in a whole, which is funny because we just got done talking about how they did spread the ball around to Jefferson, Thielen, and a little bit of Osborne. And I think part of that too is because the running game was so dominant. But to me, it's like there were some plays to be had, and that's going to happen, in every game. But it's to me, and I said this on my pregame show on my Friday show on my show. I said Dalvin Cook would have at least 130 yards combined and 2 touchdowns. Now, Madison and Cousins siphoned off a second one, so otherwise we're handled. But bottom line was I said this is going to be a rushing game because right now, after what Jefferson did the first 3-4 games of the season, teams have been playing too high shell pretty much exclusively, daring us to run, saying we are not going to let Justin Jefferson carve us up. We've talked about this a couple times here about his 98 yards being a quiet 98 yards. I mean, that one catch that he had that was extremely contested was ridiculous. But having said that, there was a couple here or there catches, but it wasn't one of those masterpiece performances from Justin Jefferson, like against the Saints and against the Packers as an example. So to me, there has got to be a little bit more consistency in the passing game. And, I'll have to watch it back again to see, okay, was it offensive line? Was it play calling? Was it all of the above? So to me, the biggest negative is just, we need to be a little bit more consistent on the pass. We love when Dalvin Cook dominates a game because, he's Dalvin Cook. He's ridiculous. But to me, I would say the inconsistency of the passing game, to me, is the biggest negative from this game.
Well, my biggest negative is Greg Joseph, man. I don't see – I mean, I'm sorry. I can't agree with that being a bigger negative than what we're seeing from Greg Joseph.
Let me rephrase. That was a given. I was leaving that for you. Okay, yes, Greg Joseph is the biggest negative. I'm saying for Greg Joseph is who he is, and he is what he is. I'm saying what can be improved upon, and I think Greg Joseph is not going to get any more consistent. He's either going to figure it out or he's not. But yes, to your point, to me, the kicker was kind of going without saying, and I wanted you to have that one. But to your point, yes, gave you the alley-oop. To your point, my compatriot Mike Castellino said 2 weeks ago, maybe we should just call the Raiders if they're out of it and get Daniel Carlson back. And he might not be far off on that.
If we can get a kicker for 5th, 6th round pick like Daniel Carlson back. Come on over, but I think we're kind of deep in the season to where we probably won't make that kicker change. Probably not. Something's up, man. I get the whole supporting your guy and riding with your guy till the end. Yeah, field goal kickers, they miss some here and there, but people that were in attendance at the game, I'm not sure if you saw it, but they said Greg Joseph's kick wasn't going to make it regardless. They said it was too low. So I think somebody said it didn't even get blocked. It was just way too low to where it bounced off someone's helmet or it did something. So something's up with Greg Joseph, and something needs to be figured out. So whether we got to fix him or whether we're going to start looking in another route, because if we're talking about things that aren't sustainable and things that are going to come back and bite you in the ass when it comes to a deep playoff run, a kicking game will do that.
Yes.
A kicker will do that. So I get it. We got to instill confidence into our guy, but at some point, we got to start realizing like, okay, well, maybe we need to start looking in a different direction. But I think that was the biggest negative in today's game. Obviously, offensive line, I think, can do a little bit better job, but I think they're being good enough. They're doing a good enough job for Kirk Cousins to be productive, obviously for Dalvin Cook to be productive, and just seeing kind of this offense marrying each other, the run game and the
Right.
pass game, seeing it come together and kind of be more fluid. And you see Kevin O'Connell's, I mean, let's be honest with you, when we need a drive put together and we need to put points on the board, just like we have every single game this season, Kevin O'Connell has put together a hell of a play calling, whether it's a late drive, whether it's to begin a game. Now, granted, coming out in the third quarter hasn't been good at all this year. We did score in the third quarter
Yes.
this game, but still coming out. I think we had a 3-and-out coming out in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct. I believe they their first drive went 3-and-out after the defense got a stop before they actually got their first touchdown on the board. And I'm pretty well. Actually, they scored twice because they also got that one off of the Harrison Smith interception as well, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, exactly. So you're seeing the positives in this, and you see this offense starting to become more fluid. So you gotta take that as a positive. We all knew there was going to be some speed bumps coming into the season, but I don't think any of us knew that we were going to be 6-1 at this point, headed into week 8 of the season. But hey, we all know we're going to take it and we're going to run with it. And I think that Washington game, we say this about every game. It's so
yeah, we do.
And like blah, 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 blah. But the Washington game is extremely important because after that Washington game, this schedule gets extremely difficult. So every game that you have that you're expected to win, you got to win. You got to win. So you got to come away with the victory against this Washington team. And then you're facing a who do we face after Washington? Is it the Cowboys?
The Bills. No, Bills, then Cowboys.
Is it the Bills? Bills, then Cowboys. So you're facing two really good teams, and we all saw what the Cowboys did to the Chicago Bears today.
They're no joke. They're no joke.
No joke. They're no joke. Dak's looking like he's getting back into the groove of things. So that is a really good team. So you're facing two back-to-back really good teams. You still got the Jets. I think the Jets are after the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken.
So I got it in front of me. So here's what we got. So we got the Commanders next week. Then we've got, these are the following 3 games. You got at the Bills. You've got home against the Cowboys, and then the following Thursday, Thanksgiving, you've got the Patriots at home. So you've got 3 teams in under a 3-week stretch where it's not cutting time at that point. It's show us what you got at that particular point in time. I believe that the Vikings are going to go into Washington. I believe it's going to be the first time that Kirk Cousins has faced Washington in Washington since he joined us here. So there's going to be obviously a little bit of some pimped up emotions. For him as well.
Actually,
but you've got to get that game because you go Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, mini bye, and then home against the Jets. Now, the Vikings do, other than the Bills, they do. So the next 2 weeks, you're going to go on the road to Washington and on the road to Buffalo, but then Cowboys, Patriots, and Jets are all at home. So, but to your point, those first 2 in particular, but the fact that you've got Bill Belichick coming in 4 days later, you almost have to group those 3. I know the Patriots are not at the same level as the Bills and the Cowboys at this particular point, but that's a tough 3-game stretch right there. So that is why
that's a primetime game as well.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they flex that Bills game as well. Do you have the time that it's listed for right now in front of you?
Currently, it's a noon game for Buffalo, and it's a 3:25 game for Dallas. I believe they have to tell you 9 days in advance. So I think it's by Wednesday or Thursday if they're going to flex a game.
I think they're able to flex games to afternoon games as well.
True. But I think they got to announce it at least a week in advance. But you could be right. I'm not entirely sure what the timeline is on that.
In Buffalo too.
Buffalo.
I'm already chalking that one up as a loss.
Yes, me too.
So you got to come away. Say you get that W with the Commanders. Say you take that L with the Bills. You're looking at 7-2 at that point. Now you're looking at the Cowboys at home, and then you said the Patriots, right?
Correct.
And then the Patriots. So those 3 games: Bills, Cowboys, Patriots. I don't
I
want
hate
to
to
say
say
you
it.
got
Yeah.
to. I don't want to say you got to, but I feel like you got to come out of that 2-1. You got to take care of the Cowboys at home, and you got to take care of the Patriots at home.
If you did that, and now you're 9-2.
Oh yeah, we're not talking about we came away with a funky win or anything like that. You're
Right.
beating good teams at that point.
Right.
You can
You are
say what
correct.
you want about the New England Patriots and they're kind of inconsistent. You can't really say much about the Bills. The Bills are what the Bills are. But what I will say about that Bills game, we're not getting blown out. I don't think we're getting blown out in that Bills game. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Bills are just going to run right through us." Josh Allen is the second coming of Jesus Christ. All this and that. That is going to be a very competitive game. One thing I know outside of the Philadelphia Eagles game, let's not get started there. I think that'll also motivate us going into that Buffalo game to say, "Hey, look, we had our opportunity to beat a really good team going into Philly, who we kind of knew was a really good team, and we fell flat on our face and we looked like shit." Well, now you have an opportunity to go out here and say you make something happen. You beat these Bills in Buffalo. We're not saying anything about the Philadelphia Eagles game anymore. We're talking about, wait a minute, these Minnesota Vikings are the real deal. They went to Buffalo, beat Buffalo. Now they're talking about beating Cowboys and then so on and so forth. So, yeah, no, it's again, I look at it as an opportunity for this team playing these good teams. So take it as an opportunity, not as necessarily a challenge. You get what I'm saying?
Or a little bit of both, because at some point you need to be challenged. Okay. You can't just say, "Oh, we got into the playoffs. We were 13-4, but we beat up on we beat bad teams and lost to good teams." Listen, I said this back in 2017. We're going to go on the way back train for just a moment. When Aaron Rodgers got hurt by Anthony Barr, he came back for a game or two, and then he just went on IR. There was a part of me that wanted Aaron Rodgers to play us in that game, because basically since the last 6 weeks of the season, the Vikings did not face any type of competition against any type of meaningful quarterbacks until we got Drew Brees in the divisional round, which ended up being the miracle game. And there was part of me that's like, "Hey, this is cool. We're just going to ride. We're going to just coast right to the 2 seed, and maybe Philly will lose." And then Carson Wentz got hurt. Oh, maybe we can get this game at home. But there's also something to say, you know what? You don't want to just keep playing teams that, okay, you can squeak out victories because you're just better than. Sometimes you do need to be pushed and do need to be challenged. To your point, if they go and beat Washington next week, and we have a 7-1 and again 7-1 matchup in Buffalo, okay, even if you lose by 7 points or less, people are going to start taking you seriously. Right now, people don't know where to put the Vikings. Okay, you got your Chiefs, you got your Bills, you got Philly, and then who's for? Is it Dallas? Is it Minnesota? Prior to their loss today, was it the New York Giants? Is it Seattle, who has made some surprising wins this year? You go into that game and don't get blown out, and heaven forbid win that game, you're now in that conversation as one of the top 5 teams legitimately, versus, well, somebody's got to be 4 and somebody's got to be 5. So, but this goes back to what we said at the end of the Saints game. We said it in our post-game show that we had 4 games left before we got to Buffalo, 2 on each side of the bye. We had Chicago and Miami, and then we had the Cardinals today and the Commanders. You got to be 3-1 or 4-0 going into that Buffalo game, and so far they've won their first 3. So they've got one more leg to go to get to that, because you got to stack up wins before you get to that tough 3 game. Well, it really is it's a tough 3 game stretch. I think the Jets came back down to earth today, as expected. Of course, when you lose your left tackle and you lose your running back, stuff happens like that. But as you said, their opportunities are all right in front of them here. It doesn't have to be, well, we need to win this game and we need the Packers to lose here and we need this team to lose here. No, you just need to go out, play your games, and do what you need to do and not worry about anybody but yourselves. And when's the last time we could say that as Vikings fans?
Yeah, your next 4 games are going to show you who you are. We're going to know what this team is going to be and pretty much how far they're going to go into the playoffs in these next 4 games. So it's exciting, man. This is when we're really getting to the thick of the season. And like I said, you really get to know who you are as a football team. So, but I'm going to wrap it up there, man. Hopefully we're going to sit back and we're going to enjoy these Green Bay Packers getting their ass whooped tonight. I honestly think it's going to be a close game. I don't think Buffalo's just going to run through the Packers like that, even though I know the Packers are a bad team. But look, the NFL this year has been full of close games, regardless of the record. I think this game's going to be close, but let's hope Buffalo blows their doors open and it's over by halftime. That'd be nice too.
I'll say this. There's nothing better than a weekend when the Vikings win, except when the Vikings win and the Packers lose. Because I tell you what, all the post-game shows with content creators that we do, there is nothing better than the quote-unquote wine line of Packers wine line when they lose and when they get destroyed. Because as irrational as fans of any football team or any sports team can be when they're upset when their teams lose, those Packer fans take the cake when it comes to delusion. I heard somebody last week say we should just trade Aaron Rodgers and play Jordan Love. I'm like, really? How old are you? 27? Yeah, you don't know what bad quarterback play is because your entire existence, you've had a Hall of Fame quarterback. Yeah, I know Rodgers ain't looking as well, or Brady. Brady and Rodgers, their time has come and gone. I mean, it reminds me of when Jordan was playing with the Wizards, where it's just like, dude, I know you still want to play. I know you still got that fire and everything, but it's hard to just watch you not be able to be at the peak of your powers. Now, when it's Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, I'm laughing all the way to the bank and back. But having said all that, as Terrell Owens once said, get your popcorn ready because I on my pick segment, I said that Buffalo's going to win by at least, I think, 21 points. I don't think it's going to be the slaughter fest like 38-0 at halftime, but I do think by the end of it, it's going to be. I think they're going to pull away from that. So
because if Packers lose this, they go to 3-5, right?
3-5. Yep.
And we're at 6-1. That'll give us a 3-game lead with the tiebreaker over them thus far. So that gives you a nice little cushion right there between the first and second place team in the NFC North. So we're all hoping for a Buffalo Bills win tonight. So go Bills.
You want to know what's really messed up? Something somebody said to me the other day. Are we going to get to the point later on in the year where we're going to be rooting for the Packers to beat the Eagles if the Vikings keep winning? And I said, oh, now there's the dilemma. Yeah, we need Philly to lose twice more than we need Philly to lose at least twice, but I can't pull for the – can I? Nah. If we got to play Philly and Philly because the Packers lost to Philly, I'll deal with it.
It depends on how late in the season it is. If we pretty much already got this division wrapped up, I think they play them like week 12 or something like that. Week 13 maybe.
They play them the last weekend of – they play them on November 27th, so that would be – if I can do some math here.
That's about week 13, I think.
That's week 12.
Week 12. So they played in week 12. We're in week 8 right now, right? Yeah. This is week 8.
Yeah.
Hey, so look, we could be sitting with a 7-game lead on the Green Bay Packers at that point, and it's already wrapped up. So, and at that point, it's I'm not even gonna say they're saying, but I hope they beat the Eagles at that point. But look, that's a long ways to go. That's what 6-7 weeks away from right now. So we're gonna chill. We're gonna chill a little bit right now. But
we're just gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, we're just gonna enjoy it. Go Bills Mafia tonight. And thank you for everybody for tuning in. If you don't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for the Purple Code YouTube page. And as well, follow us on Facebook too. We needed to make a brand new page on Facebook because our original Facebook page with about 20,000 subscribers got hacked. And now we have to start all over. So if you are watching, you haven't followed us on Facebook yet, go ahead and follow us. It's the Purple Code backup page, not the Purple Code. It's called the Purple Code backup page. Go ahead and hit that follow button, and obviously follow us on Twitter as well at the Purple Code 1, as well as our personal profiles on there, personal Twitters at SK_TPC, and then Justin, I believe, is at JDay24, right?
At JDay_24.
At JDay_24. Go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter as well. And we're also on Instagram and on TikTok too. So make sure you guys go follow us and subscribe. Again, we appreciate you guys' support. And we will see you guys tomorrow. We got a day with Mike and Kayla live tomorrow night. So make sure you tap in. Justin's going to be there running the show with Mike and Kyla. So appreciate you guys tuning in. It's your boy SK with Justin Day. Have a good one. Peace.
Let's go Vikes.